It began with a cough. Not deadly, not even painful, just persistent. Doctors called it harmless, a dry, annoying tickle. It swept across the globe in weeks, infecting billions, yet causing no hospitalizations, no deaths. No one knew its name, so people moved on, until a few months later the world noticed something strange. No one was aging anymore. At first, it felt like a glitch in the system. Grandparents looked the same for 3 birthdays in a row. Babies stopped growing. Teenagers stayed awkwardly hormonal forever. Blood tests revealed a terrifying pattern. Cellular senescence had halted. Telomeres stopped shortening. Wrinkles froze in place. The virus, nicknamed Kronos by the media, had flipped the biological hourglass. At a molecular level, it behaved like nothing we'd ever seen. Instead of hijacking or destroying cells, it simply preserved them. The immune system didn't fight it. No fever, no antibodies, and most disturbingly, it didn't go away. Scientists raced to understand it. Mutation? CRISPR gone wrong? A synthetic bioweapon? Or something not of Earth at all? For a moment, humanity celebrated. Imagine a world without aging. No nursing homes. No degenerative disease. No fear of the end. Cosmetic industries collapsed overnight. Celebrities posted selfies titled Forever 29. Governments declared national holidays. But soon, horror crept in. Hospitals filled with people who should have died, but didn't. Coma patients trapped in limbo. Cancer cells behaving strangely. Children never entering puberty. Couples unable to conceive. Retirement? Irrelevant. Pensions? Impossible. Economies buckled under billions who would never die. Philosophers clashed, faiths were shaken. What is the meaning of life if it never ends? Aging was the quiet engine of human civilization. Now that engine was gone, and yet we were still hurtling forward. Some called it a blessing, others a curse. But no one could restart the countdown. The virus had done the unthinkable. It stole the one thing that defined every story ever told, time. And we were left frozen in it. Aging is not just growing old. It's a slow biological symphony of damage, decay, and cellular chaos. And until now, it was inevitable. Inside every human cell, tiny machines like mitochondria churn out energy while spewing harmful byproducts. DNA is copied billions of times, accumulating errors. Telomeres, the fuses at the ends of chromosomes, shorten with every division. Eventually, cells either shut down or mutate into something worse. Aging is entropy. But somehow, Kronos the virus hacked that system. It didn't reverse aging. It paused it. A molecular freeze frame. Blood samples showed almost no senescent cells. Impossible. Normally, old cells linger, leak inflammatory signals, and clog up tissues. But now, they were either cleared or reprogrammed. Telomeres stopped shortening altogether. Cell replication continued without decay. Mitochondria ran clean. Stem cells replenished tissues flawlessly. It was as if every cell in the body had been upgraded to a perfectly tuned version of itself. Scientists compared it to the immortal jellyfish Turritopsis dohrnii, which reverts its cells and starts life again. Kronos didn't make us babies, but it created a stable biological loop suspending humanity in post-maturity stasis. And it was invisible to the immune system, which meant it was here to stay. The real horror? It worked too well. Children stopped aging at random points. Some remained toddlers forever dependent. Others were frozen mid-puberty, emotionally turbulent and biologically confused. Their brains would never fully develop. Patients with chronic illness? Trapped in stasis, diabetics remained insulin-dependent forever. Cancer froze, neither spreading nor shrinking. Evolution depends on aging, on mutation, on death. Without it, natural selection halts. The story of life stops writing itself. Worse still, Kronos infected sperm and egg cells too. New births stopped completely. Humanity became sterile. And the most chilling twist, Kronos only infected humans. All other life continued aging, dying, reproducing. The ecosystem evolved, but we did not. We became biologically incompatible with life itself. Now society faced a new kind of existential crisis. Not how long we live, but whether we still count as part of the living world at all. Imagine a city built for 1 million people. Roads, homes, food supply, all perfectly balanced. Now, imagine no one ever leaves and new residents keep arriving. This is Earth now. After the Kronos virus halted aging, humanity lost its natural rhythm: birth, growth, death. The cycle was broken. At first, it felt like a miracle. No more funerals. Hospitals emptied. Families stayed whole. But within 20 years, the miracle turned into a logistical nightmare. Because no one was dying, but many were still being born. Before we realized Kronos had infected reproductive cells and caused sterility, over 200 million children were born. The last generation humanity would ever have. And now we were stuck. 15 billion humans. And counting. Not up, but sideways. At first, it seemed manageable. Aging stopped, but life went on. People still ate, consumed, traveled, but the economy was never built for infinite life. Retirement vanished overnight. A 70-year-old looked 40, lived like 30, worked like 20. But for how long? Would they work forever? Would they get bored? Worse, would they ever stop wanting? Population pyramids collapsed into columns. Every generation alive at the time of Kronos now existed simultaneously, each with its own politics, culture, trauma, and their memories never faded. Entire cities filled with eternally teenage minds. Others ruled by permanently middle-aged managers clinging to outdated systems. Conflict brewed not between nations, but between centuries of identity trapped in unchanging bodies. Meanwhile, Earth itself kept aging. Climate change didn't pause with us. Biodiversity still collapsed. Coral reefs died. Soil eroded. Antibiotic resistance rose. And now, humanity couldn't evolve, because evolution needs birth and death. We became stagnant. Innovation slowed. Why learn something new when you have forever? Why take risks when you can wait indefinitely? The young, full of dreams, were frozen in time. And the old, no longer wise, just tired, hoarded power, knowledge, resources. We didn't build a utopia. We built a warehouse of souls, and it got worse. Space became sacred. Entire continents overcrowded. Cities built into the skies and burrowed deep into the ground. Oceans colonized, deserts urbanized, but there was no room for newness. No homes for children, no space for change. The world turned grey. Not from decay, but from stillness. Every person alive knew one thing. There would never be another funeral. Never another baby. Just a permanent. Now, immortality, it turned out, was a cage made of time. What happens to a mind that knows it will never die? Kronos didn't just freeze our bodies, it caged our consciousness in an endless present. Biology stopped aging, but our brains didn't adapt. Because our psychology evolved under one rule. You will die someday. Now, that rule was broken. Eternal minds, finite wiring. Our brains are built to make trade-offs, to prioritize, to forget. But with endless time, these systems collapsed. Every argument, every joy, every heartbreak, filed away but never dulled by time. Old wounds festered, grudges became permanent. Marriages endured for centuries, or didn't. Some relationships decayed into quiet resentment with no end in sight. And memory? It overloaded. People drowned in their own past. Even with neural enhancements and backups, identity became blurry. Were you the same person after 200 years? After 500? We became hoarders of experience, unable to let go, unwilling to move on. The rise of psychological collapse. In the early decades after Kronos, new disorders emerged. Not from trauma, but from monotony. Existential fatigue, apathy from having seen and done everything. Temporal dissociation, losing grip on chronology, forgetting what decade it is. Immortality envy, jealousy of the dead for having closure. By year 100, suicide had risen 300%. Not because life was bad, but because it never changed. Some escaped into virtual worlds. Others joined rebirth cults, demanding mind wipes every 50 years. And some simply walked away, vanishing into forests and abandoned cities. Even happiness lost its edge. What once thrilled became routine. First kisses, great discoveries, even space travel dulled by centuries. Eternal joy became eternal numbness. Cultural freeze. Art stopped evolving. The same songs played for centuries. The same trends recycled endlessly. No youth to rebel, no elders to retire, just a forever middle. Belief systems fractured. Religions struggled to explain life without death. Governments, unable to promise a better future, turned to control the present. Social media became a museum of yesterday's obsessions. Humanity wasn't dying. It was stuck. The mind was never meant for this. We were creatures of progress, defined by the ticking clock. We cherished things because they ended. Childhood, careers, lifetimes. Kronos shattered that illusion. Time was infinite, but meaning was not. What happens to a species that no longer dies, no longer reproduces, and no longer changes? This is the story of our final transformation, not through natural selection, but through artificial stagnation. When Kronos silenced death, it also froze evolution. Because evolution only works with struggle, with mutation, with replacement. But now, there were no children, no survival of the fittest, just the same humans, forever. Mutation without meaning. In biology, evolution is driven by three forces: variation, selection, inheritance. But in the post-Kronos world, all three collapsed. No reproduction, so no inheritance. No competition, so no selection. No aging, so no need for change. Even gene editing stalled. Why redesign a body that never breaks? Why upgrade a brain that never dies? Ironically, we became less human by staying human. The rise of post-human divergence. Eventually, the pressure to escape monotony triggered a new wave of transformation. Not by evolution, but by design. The eternal began modifying themselves. Not to survive, but to feel again. Some uploaded their minds into machines and fled to the stars. Others merged with forests, oceans, or even planets, becoming symbiotic life forms. A few miniaturized themselves, living inside quantum networks. And others still reversed immortality. They chose to age again. Not because death was better, but because life needed limits to matter. This divergence fractured humanity into factions. The statics, those who remained untouched. The flowborn, shifting shapes and minds like water. The new mortals who sought the gift of death once more. Over millennia, these factions lost contact, lost language, lost memory of Earth. We were no longer a species. We were an echo, humanity's final paradox. Kronos, the virus that gifted eternity, also cursed us with identity loss. We thought eternal life would make us gods. Instead, it made us ghosts, drifting minds without struggle, emotion, or evolution. Even time lost its meaning. Somewhere, in a distant galaxy, a former human might still float in a virtual sky, watching an endless sunset it no longer feels. Others may burn on new suns, or have long forgotten they were ever human at all. So, was it worth it? Maybe. Kronos gave us safety, but stole our story. And in the end, a life without aging wasn't freedom. It was pause. Because what makes us human is not that we live forever, but that we live knowing we won't